Something very interesting is going on in Dubai right now. Except the good weather winter part, Huawei blessed us with the global edition of Mate 30 Pro. This phone's got brilliant hardware and an astonishing camera on board. And a political challenge, that it doesn't have any Google services on board, despite of being the global version of Mate 30 Pro. Well, that being said, I used this phone for straight 10 days without any Google services on board. And I'm going to tell you what I feel about this device. Let's talk about it. First things first, let's talk about the hardware. Huawei has been a great player that has continuously challenged the smartphone scene in the last few years. Be it the interesting color offerings on their smartphones or challenging camera setups, they have been really at the top of their game. Same trends continue with Mate 30 Pro, a phone that showcases a beautiful design, front, back and the sides. Yes, the sides. It's full of innovative features, like absolutely no mechanical volume buttons, for example. The display on this thing is gorgeous and falls literally on both its sides like a waterfall. Well, the display is not 90Hz or 120Hz like we see from most of the flagships now coming in the later half of 2019, and the waterfall design of this display actually brings along a very strange aspect ratio which troubles certain apps. But otherwise, it's a pleasure to use. This immersive experience for gaming or media consumption is just phenomenal. In fact, it has air triggers inbuilt too for your PUBG and Fortnite sessions. I mean, it's rhetorical to say that this device is Huawei's latest flagship and of course has everything best in terms of hardware. They've got Kirin 990, that is Huawei's latest processor. It's got 4500 mAh battery with a fast charger that charges this phone from 0 to 75 in just around 30 minutes. And it's got IP68 rating, 4 cameras at the back, front camera's got those face unlocks, etc, etc. I mean, feature-wise, this phone is no slouch. It performs absolutely brilliant, especially the camera. Camera is simply breathtaking here. And I'm saying this while my other phone is Google's Pixel 4 XL. That's the epitome of smartphone photography as we know it, right? I'm not saying Pixel 4 camera is bad by any means, okay? It's a great camera. All I'm trying to say is this Mate 30 Pro actually has a very potent camera setup. It actually clicks some great pictures. You would be surprised and amazed to see the quality that it brings out. And then Pixel's got actually 2 lenses at the back and Huawei's coming with 4 lenses at the back. And the versatility in the camera software and the features that you have in camera are simply breathtaking. The main camera setup at the back is 40 megapixel. There is a wide lens. It's got 8 megapixel telephoto lens. It's got another 40 megapixel ultra wide lens. It's got a 3D ToF sensor, that's time of flight sensor. In terms of video, the main camera can do 4K 60 FPS. For selfie duties, you get 32 megapixel wide sensor. It's called wide, but I wasn't really happy with the kind of frame it had. For some reason, it's not as wide as I would like it to be. Some samples for you. Well, this is the front-facing camera sample. Actually, I like what I see here, except for the small stabilization issues and the wide-angle lens. The angle's not pretty wide, actually, on the Mate 30 Pro. So you see what you're looking here is exactly the footage coming directly out of Mate 30 Pro. The sound that you're listening to is coming directly out of Mate 30 Pro. What do you think about it? And it's got some nifty, interesting features. Let me show you some. Like this black and white filter, for example. It's got multiple inbuilt filters that you can actually use for the front-facing 32 megapixel camera. Like this one, the cinematic, actually boosted colors, etc, etc. And when you start exploring the main camera, you can click so many different variety of photos on this phone. Starting from a basic picture to the portrait and going all the way to things like light paintings. Possibilities with this camera are limitless. Edge detection is brilliant on portraits. Daylight pictures look perfect, they're sharp, they're crisp, except a slight color tone change when you move between different lenses, that is wide or ultra wide. Beside that, it's absolutely amazing and I love the output that has come out of this camera. The phone's inbuilt features gives you some crazy possibilities in way of light painting, they call it. I was able to click some brilliant pictures. Have a look at these. I mean, these were brilliant. I mean, look at how the smartphone photography has come down to this level. And all of these photos have been taken in the handheld mode. Nothing is on a tripod. I just stood still with phone in my hand. Phone did some trickery for sometimes for 25 seconds, in some cases around a minute. But look at the output. It's just beautiful. The night pictures overall look amazing. There is absolutely no noise at all and pictures look crisp and sharp. Huawei is taking the night photography to the next level. Earlier with P30 Pro it was brilliant, and now with Mate 30 Pro they're just moving forward on the same journey. In terms of videos, you can go up to 4K 60 FPS through all of its lenses. All lenses, whether it's wide, ultra wide, all of these lenses can be used for 4K 60 FPS recording. And overall video quality is just brilliant. I think it's one of the best Android smartphones for videos as well. The video stabilization is pretty amazing and works for all camera angles, wide, ultra wide, all of it. Overall, you can count me impressed with the camera features that this phone has. This was the most versatile camera app that I've seen on a smartphone in some time. I mean, before that, yes, we've seen these kind of features on P30 Pro, and now Huawei is bringing similar or something more to the Mate 30 Pro. So overall, in terms of hardware, it's a beast. It's got everything going right for it. Let's talk about software. That's where a lot of things we need to discuss. One of them being the Google, right? So let's start with Android. This phone actually ships with Android 10. Now it still has Android because it's open source and anyone in the world can actually use it. The software that is Huawei's skin on top of it is EMUI 10. But there are no Google services. It's quite annoying. It's quite annoying. You get such brilliant hardware and you miss out on core functions. I mean, it's a little more complicated, right? It's not as easy that, okay, you just put some APKs on it and everything's gonna be fine. Yes, there are ways to actually put Google services on those. I'm going to link down a few videos for you which you can actually follow, that how could you install Google services on this phone. But before that, you need to understand what's going on here. Actually, all of Android phones, whether it's Pixel, whether it's Realme, all of these global version of phones come with Google services on board. So what are these Google services on board? These are not just apps that Google Maps or Play Store, etc. All of this can be downloaded or can be taken from one phone and can be put into another phone very easily. The thing that actually drives all of these apps is GMS, or Google Management Services. Now, what Huawei is losing on is Google Management Services package. Even if you install, let's say, Play Store or any other Google app on this as an APK file, it will not work because it doesn't have GMS, that is Google Management Services. Now, think of it as a car, okay? A car has 4 wheels and has an engine that gives power to these 4 wheels. What happens in this case, the GMS is actually the engine of the car. Those wheels are the apps, those are deriving power from the engine, that is GMS. So how's Huawei handling it? Because they do not have this engine anymore. So they built their own engine that is called HMS, or Huawei Management Services. That has been put on board on Mate 30 Pro. Now Mate 30 Pro can actually function with almost 95% of apps that I had on my Pixel 4 XL. I actually cloned this phone to this phone when I moved all my data here. So except few Google apps, everything else is working smooth. My Instagram's okay, my WhatsApp is okay, my Facebook's fine, Snapchat doesn't work, Netflix doesn't work, and other apps which actually are the safety related apps like your banking apps, those kind of apps are not going to work with HMS. But this is just the start of the journey for Huawei. Okay, they are building solutions which will actually help you to move forward with this entire issue that is going on right now. Once HMS has got its power and can flex its muscles in the right direction, I think everything, pretty much everything will work on HMS, because none of those app developers or the app makers are actually bound by any Google contract that they can make only Google apps. It's exactly like an app, your banking app, or any app. For example, let's say Netflix works on iPhone, works on Android. Now it will start working on Huawei phones as well. So the app developer needs to develop a version that is compatible with HMS. It's that simple. So only time will tell that how this picks up and how Huawei actually handles the situation. But as of now, I am pretty impressed with the hardware on this thing. And there are ways to actually install GMS, or rather all of Google services, including the Play Store and all apps, etc. to this phone. Still, you will have issues with the safety net. Still, the banking apps are not going to work. So be mindful of that. So what does that mean? Actually, I use 2 phones at all times, right? All the times I have 2 phones with me. So this has become a perfect second phone for me. Everything Google lives here on this Pixel 4 XL, and for everything else, I generally go here because of this lovely display that it has and the brilliant camera, the versatility it has. But if you think it's too much for you to handle and you are just one phone person, then I think you're better off with something which is a complete package and everything makes, or rather it makes everything work properly for you. So you keep that in mind. So that's pretty much my feedback on Huawei's Mate 30 Pro. I'm going to keep it because I love the camera and the hardware on this thing. What about you? Do you think you can buy a phone or use a phone that doesn't have Google on board? Tell me in the comments below. And do subscribe if you want to watch more of my content. Thank you for watching, guys. Cheers.